You're listening or watching Radio Afinju. The time is 6 p.m.
Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ Àfínjú. Lórí WhatsApp. Àfínjú. Instagram. Àfínjú. Facebook. Àfínjú. Lórí X. Àfínjú. Lórí YouTube. Àfínjú. Lórí TikTok. Àfínjú. Kí lorúkọ rẹ̀? Àfínjú. Ẹ bá mi pè é o. Àfínjú. Rédíò. Àfínjú. Gbogbo èèyàn ló ń gbọ́ 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 Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú. Rédíò Àfínjú.
First, a look at the highlights. House of Reps Committee seek unified energy law. ICRC escorts Congo troops from UN base in rebel-held Goma to Kinshasa. Trump celebrates 100 days in office by touting record and blasting foes. Good evening and welcome to the World News on Radio Afinju. My name is Pearl Durotoye. The news in detail. In a move aimed at creating a coherent national framework for Nigeria's renewable energy sector, the House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy has announced plans to host a first-of-its-kind legislative conference focused on green energy policies and regulations. The two-day event, scheduled for May 5th and 6th, 2025, will be held in Lagos and is organized in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme. The committee chairman and member representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State, Afam Ogene, drops this hint while speaking during a press briefing at the National Assembly in Abuja. He said the conference will bring together lawmakers, regulators, international partners, and private sector leaders to align on the country's legislative direction in the energy transition. Ogene noted that recent changes in Nigeria's constitutional and legal frameworks have created momentum that now requires legislative harmonization across federal and state levels. Key among these reforms is the 5th Alteration Bill 2022, number 33, which has become law and now empowers states to legislate on electricity generation, transmission and distribution within areas covered by the national grid, an authority that was previously restricted to off-grid systems. Chieftain of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Abubakar Baraje, has dismissed concerns over recent defections from the party in Delta State, describing the issue as overflogged and no longer worth dwelling on. Baraje, who mentioned this during an interview, stated that the party's leadership has moved past the episode and is now focused on future possibilities, including stronger collaboration across party lines to reposition Nigeria.
That there are many problems to be solved, and we have started solving the problem. It might not be open now, but by the time the results are coming out, I think members and the general public, the entire Nigerians will be happy to have a very strong opposition. Okay, there are other ways of defeating APC or any party in power. It's not necessarily by actually coming together with many parties, all right? The comparison that I'm drawing is to let you see why some of us left in 2014 and why we came back. And we had grievances. The party called us for discussions. People that are defecting now have no grief. They didn't tell the party they were defecting. They didn't tell the party was doing anything wrong with them. They didn't tell the party that they have grievances.
Okay.
So that's why the party was shocked. But as of now, the party has gotten over the shock and we are moving forward.
Baraje also criticized the APC-led government over its handling of insecurity and the economy, suggesting that had the PDP remained in power, the country would not have descended into its current state. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to, within 24 hours, release the socialite and businesswoman Aisha Achimugu. Justice Inyang Eko, in the short ruling, also directed that parties in the suit, especially the EFCC, should report to the court on May 2nd to give an update on compliance with the order of the court. The operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, arrived at the Federal High Court in Abuja with the businesswoman Aisha Achimugu as ordered by the court at about 11:35 a.m. Recall, Justice Inyang Eko had on Monday ordered the industrialists alleged to have fled the country to honor the invitation by the anti-graft agency on Tuesday at noon. Justice Eko, who gave the order in the short ruling, also ordered the EFCC, upon the appearance of Achimugu at its office, to return with her to court on Wednesday for a report. Achimugu was, however, said to have been arrested by the EFCC's operatives on arrival abroad at about 5 a.m. and kept in custody. Justice Ambrose Lewis Alagwa of the Federal High Court in Lagos has convicted the blogger Adewale Ajimisogbe for cyberbullying and libeling the General Overseer of the Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries, MFM, Daniel Olukoya. Ajimisogbe pleaded guilty to the charges following the plea bargain agreement he entered into with the police. He, along with a former MFM member, Ayotunde Richards, were arraigned before the court on March 20th, 2024, over a 12-count charge of conspiracy, cyberbullying, and libel. While the two defendants were jointly charged on 3 counts of conspiracy to commit felony, to wit, cyberstalking and defamation, Ajimisogbe was slammed with an additional 9 counts of libel. The police prosecutor, Nusa Uhumwango, informed the court that the alleged offences occurred between December 2023 and February 2024. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has launched innovative mobile technologies aimed at combating counterfeit drugs in Nigeria's northeast region. At a 2-day sensitization workshop in Gombe, stakeholders from various healthcare sectors were introduced to the Scan to Verify and the Green Book app tools designed to authenticate medicines and ensure public safety. NAFDAC's Director General, Mojisola Adeyeye, who was represented by the Director of Post-Marketing Surveillance, Bitrus Freyden, reassured participants that all drugs registered by NAFDAC are safe and available only through legitimate outlets. Adeyeye further explained that the Green Book app serves as a digital registry listing certified medicines approved by the agency. Elsewhere, hundreds of Congolese soldiers and police officers seeking refuge at the United Nations base in Goma since the eastern city's capture in January are being transferred to Kinshasa. According to the International Committee of the Red Cross, the now unarmed soldiers and police officers, as well as their families, will be escorted from the MONUSCO peacekeeping mission site to Congo's capital over the course of several days. According to MONUSCO, some 1,400 people, mostly soldiers, have taken refuge in its Goma base since late January. In an escalation of a long-running conflict rooted in the spillover of Rwanda's 1994 genocide and the struggle over Congo's vast mineral resources, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels seized Goma, eastern Congo's largest city, in late January, and Bukavu, the area's second-largest city, weeks later. The unprecedented advance has killed thousands of people and forced hundreds of thousands to flee. Rwanda denies UN allegations that it backs the M23, saying its forces are acting in self-defense against Congo's army and allied militias. In Asia, North Korea earlier this week conducted the first test firing of the weapons system of the new Choeyong-class warship it recently unveiled. Reports said cruise and anti-air missiles were launched and artillery fired as part of the test firing attended by leader Kim Jong-un and senior officials. Kim was quoted as saying the time has come for North Korea's Navy to choose to accelerate nuclear armament for maritime sovereignty and for the sake of national defense. An official at Seoul's defense ministry said the intelligence agencies of South Korea and the United States were closely monitoring North Korea's shipbuilding activities. North Korea's state media had recently revealed that the 5,000-ton warship was equipped with the most powerful weapons. China has decided to lift sanctions on 4 members of the European Parliament as well as on its subcommittee on human rights. An official who spoke on condition of anonymity said European Parliament President Roberta Metsola is expected to announce the change and had initially said sanctions will be lifted for 4 current members and 1 former member. China has grown keen to forge closer economic and political ties with Europe to limit the damage from tariffs on most of its exports to the United States. According to the official, the sanctions China is lifting were imposed in 2021 in response to Western measures against Chinese officials accused of the mass detentions of Muslim Uyghurs. In response to the Chinese sanctions on its members, the European Parliament halted the ratification of the EU-China Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, which had aimed to put EU companies on an equal footing in China. In Europe, the Kremlin said President Vladimir Putin is open to peace in Ukraine and intense work is going on with the United States. But the conflict is so complicated that the rapid progress that Washington wants is difficult to achieve. U.S. President Donald Trump, who says he wants to be remembered as a peacemaker, has repeatedly said he wants to end the bloodbath of the more than 3-year war in Ukraine. But Washington has been signaling that it is frustrated by the failure of Moscow and Kyiv to reach terms to end the deadliest land war in Europe since World War II. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov told reporters the Russian president remains open to political and diplomatic methods of resolving the conflict. He noted that Putin had expressed a willingness for direct talks with Ukraine, but that there had been no answer yet from Kyiv. After the Kremlin's remark, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said Ukraine was ready for peace talks in any format if Moscow signed up to an unconditional ceasefire. Still in Europe, Ukraine is ready to sign a minerals resources deal with the United States and could do so later. Ukrainian officials hope that signing the deal promoted by U.S. President Donald Trump will help to firm up softening American support for Kyiv in the war triggered by Russia's full-scale invasion more than 3 years ago. A Ukrainian government source told reporters that the first Deputy Prime Minister, Yulia Shevchenko, was traveling to the United States to sign the agreement. The two sides signed a memorandum on April 18th as an initial step towards clinching an accord on developing mineral resources in Ukraine. In the memorandum, they said they aim to complete talks by April 26th and sign the deal as soon as possible. 2 days later, Ukrainian Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said Kyiv had agreed that past U.S. aid provided to Kyiv would not be counted as part of a minerals deal. In the Americas, U.S. President Donald Trump has celebrated the 100th day of his second term in office with a campaign-style speech touting his achievements and targeting political foes. Hailing what he called a revolution of common sense, he told a crowd of supporters in Michigan that he was using his presidency to deliver profound change. The Republican mocked his Democratic predecessor, Joe Biden, and aimed fresh criticism at the U.S. Federal Reserve's chairman, while dismissing polls that show his unpopularity slipping. Trump has delivered a dramatic fall in the number of migrants crossing illegally into the United States, but the economy is a potential political vulnerability as it wages a global trade war.
Thrilled to be back in this beautiful state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and that's according to many, many people. This is the best, they say, 100-day start of any president in history, and everyone is saying it. We've just gotten started. You haven't even seen anything yet. It's all just kicking in. After decades of politicians who destroyed Detroit to build up Beijing, you finally have a champion for workers in the White House, and instead of putting China first, I'm putting Michigan first, and I'm putting America first. After a lifetime of unelected bureaucrats stealing your paychecks, attacking your values, and trampling your freedoms, we are stopping their gravy train, ending their power trip, and telling thousands of corrupt, incompetent, and unnecessary deep state bureaucrats, you're fired. Get the hell out of here. You're fired. Get out of here.
Earlier in the day, he softened a key element of his economic plan, tariffs on the import of foreign cars and car parts, after U.S. car makers warned of the danger of rising prices. A Haitian woman died in U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) custody in Florida last week. The death of Marie Ange Blaise, 44 years old, who was pronounced dead by medical professionals at the Broward Transitional Center in Pompano Beach, Florida on Friday, is under investigation. Blaise, who entered the United States at an unknown date and place, encountered U.S. Customs and Border Protection (CBP) while attempting to board a flight to North Carolina from the United States Virgin Islands in February. CBP later issued a notice of expedited removal for Blaise, adding that she was transferred to his custody from CBP at a staging facility in Puerto Rico. According to the immigration agency, Blaise was detained at a correctional facility in Louisiana before ultimately being transferred to Florida, where she died. In the Middle East, Israel said it carried out a warning strike against an extremist group that was preparing to attack Druze in Syria, following through on its pledge to protect the minority group as violence spread in Druze areas near Damascus. It marks the latest Israeli strike in Syria, where Israel views the Sunni Islamists who seized power in December as a rising threat at its border and has sent troops into the southwest and vowed to protect the Druze minority. In a joint statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz said the strike had hit the extremist group as it prepared to continue an attack on Druze in the Syrian town of Sana'a, just south of Damascus. A spokesman for Syria's Interior Ministry, speaking to reporters from Sana'a, said he had no indication that an attack had taken place. Iran would hold talks in Rome on Friday with European parties to their now moribund 2015 nuclear deal as both sides seek to position themselves ahead of a new round of U.S.-Iranian negotiations on Saturday. Tehran had proposed a meeting Britain, France and Germany, collectively known as the E3, who stuck to the 2015 deal meant to curb Iran's nuclear activity, which unraveled in 2018 when U.S. President Donald Trump walked out of it during his first term in the White House. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told state media the 3 European countries have lost their role in the nuclear fire due to the wrong policies they have adopted. There was initial hesitation within the E3 over concerns that such talks could create a parallel track and hijack the negotiations pursued by Trump's second administration that Washington says aimed to prevent Iran developing nuclear weapons. But 3 European diplomats told reporters that the E3 decided it was ultimately in their interest to maintain dialogue with Iran and reaffirm how they envisaged the parameters of a new nuclear deal. Now talking sports, Super Falcons captain Rasheedat Ajibade is expected to leave the Spanish Liga side Atletico Madrid at the end of the season. Ajibade's contract will terminate at the end of the season and she will leave Atletico Madrid on a free transfer. The 25-year-old has been linked with a move to America's National Women's Soccer League, NWSL, while Atletico Madrid are already making a move to secure a replacement for the winger. Ajibade joined Atletico Madrid from Norwegian club Alvadnes on a 2-year contract in January 2021, but extended a contract for 3 more years in 2022. The former FC Robo Queens player has scored 40 goals in 136 appearances for Atletico Madrid. Before we go, here again are the highlights. In a move aimed at creating a coherent national framework for Nigeria's renewable energy sector, the House of Representatives Committee on Renewable Energy has announced plans to host a first-of-its-kind legislative conference focused on green energy policies and regulation. Elsewhere, hundreds of Congolese soldiers and police officers seeking refuge at the United Nations base in Goma since the eastern city's capture in January are being transferred to Kinshasa. And in the Americas, U.S. President Donald Trump has celebrated the 100th day of his second term in office with a campaign-style speech touting his achievements and targeting political foes.